No, I'm off on the 15th and 16th of December.
Hello,
So
welcome to Integrated Skills 2022 Christmas webinar. Thanks very much for joining us. It's really nice to see you all. Yeah, we just had a moment here with Anna just travelling by train, missing. I think train's cancelled, so she just made it in the nick of time. But I'm really grateful that you're here actually to present and to chat on the webinar, and also thanks very much for all of you who've joined us today. Yeah, this is our third Integrated Skills Christmas webinar. Let me introduce our guests today. So we've got Dr. Anna Willits, President of CIWM and a partner at Gunnar Cook Lawyers. More from Anna in a second. Sarah Jane Widdowson from Intellisos, who's a trustee at WasteAid, and you're going to talk to us a bit about WasteAid today. Thanks, Sarah Jane. We've got Emily Carrigan, who is manager of the Rainbow Junction, JUNK, Junction Food Cafe and Food Share in Leeds. And we've got John Rodigan, who's head of environment and housing at Fife Council. Thanks all for agreeing to do this. I hope you're still happy to do it at the end when we get to 4 o'clock. You'll still be happy then, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so thank you. We're also going to be joined by Simeon Walker, who those of you who've attended our Christmas webinars the past 2 years, he's a pianist and composer from Leeds. He's done something a little bit special for us today, so more of that in a second. Housekeeping, it would be really nice to have your comments as we're going through the webinar today. There may not necessarily be questions, there could just be comments. Yeah, I agree. Or an emoji or whatever as we're going through the time together today. So please use the comment box. Right, this is housekeeping. Right, we've got our quiz today. Thanks, James. Our quiz today consists of only 4 questions. There are only 4 questions, so we need to listen closely whenever they're asked, and really use all our grey matter that we've got still available at the end of the year to actually try and get the right answer right, because today we're going up the waste hierarchy. We're going all the way to reduce, and we're actually, rather than in the past years, we've actually integrated skills of shopped and bought prizes and then used up carbon to get them delivered to those of you who answered them correctly. We're actually bypassing all that, and today we're going to do something which is a bit different, which is for every time we get the question correct, and those 4 questions, we're going to be Integrated Skills going to be donating some money to Rainbow Junction Cafe. So the question, please make the questions as simple as possible, and try and be as intelligent as possible, attendees. Okay, so brilliant. Let's start. Anna, you've just arrived. I know, a bit breathless, but firstly, congratulations on becoming president of CIWM.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to find out how it's gone. I wanted to talk a little bit about your year as president so far. But I thought for those who are not that familiar with CIWM, what is the president's role? What is it about?
Well, so I thought when I went for it that you turned up and cut ribbons and kissed babies. Apparently not that. You have to do some work. Yeah, no, so it's partly sort of a figurehead role, because Chartered Institution of Waste Management is run by staff who do a far better job than I do. They're full-time staff, and CEO Sarah Poulter. So that's how it's run day to day. So the president's role is more of a figurehead role, and the board of trustees and the president have day jobs, so we volunteers for CIWM in our spare time. So that's what I do. As part of the joking aside about cutting ribbons and having to do some work, as part of the president's role, one of the things that you are required to do is have a project, if you like, for the year and produce a report. And that the point of that being to further the aims of CIWM to move things forward in the waste industry. And because each year the president is different, each president has their own ideas and thoughts and things that they want to look at. So for my year, they've never had a lawyer before, so I was asked to look at something legal. That's a particular issue in the waste industry, or an issue to me. And I did have a particular issue that I wanted looking at. So I've been working with an environmental consultancy, Anthesis, and my report was launched in June at my inauguration. Once the report's launched, which I can tell you more about later if you want to know, yep. It doesn't just sit there. You then, throughout your presidential year, depending on what you're dealing with, you try to implement the report, whatever it is you wanted to do to move forward. So currently with my report, which is looking at barriers to the circular economy in terms of end of waste, so waste becoming non-waste, which I have particular issues in my day job as a lawyer, where I have clients who see these barriers all the time, which is what I wanted to use the presidential year for. With CRWM, we're working with the regulators. So, for example, I've got a meeting next week with the Environment Agency and NRW to try and effect change in the time that I'm here. I am also hopeful it won't just stop next June when Dan becomes president, and it's a project that I'd like to continue for, going forward once my year's finished. And I can see from Evan Reid has done this year, his project is still continuing. So I think that sounds great.
Well, I'll come back to you and ask you a little bit about your specific project in a second. For anyone who follows you on LinkedIn, it's been quite a year, but I just thought I'd
oh yeah. What are you going to?
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed the Christmassy slide. Sorry, but there we are. There we all are. And the next slide. I just wanted to. I'd actually picked off some of your. I've pinched them, to be honest, from LinkedIn. But I just thought it was such a good sort of backdrop to your role and what you do. I wondered if you'd just tell us a little bit about your day job.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a partner at Gunnar Cook. I'm an environmental criminal defence lawyer. Going back in time, before I'm a different kind of lawyer. I've not come the traditional route. I used to be an environmental consultant, so I was a technical scientific advisor. And prior to that, my PhD was in landfill engineering. So I've come into law later. I saw a bit of a gap in the market when I was a consultant. Environmental laws were changing about 2003, 2004. My clients were starting to be prosecuted for environmental offences, saying, "Oh, Anna, can you help?" And I said, "No, you need a lawyer." And I thought, this is quite interesting. I'm quite argumentative. It seems quite scientific, something that I might enjoy doing. But I never really looked at law because I've always been a scientist and had that way of thinking. So so I retrained and I've been practicing as an environmental lawyer since 2009 now. I'm a partner at Gunnar Cook, and I put this up. I don't know what. There's a lot of press outside the Royal Courts of Justice where you probably see on television. There's always some very interesting, not my cases, but very interesting high-profile cases going on. I don't quite know what they thought I was doing when I was dangling my medal around taking photos. But I couldn't resist. I was there for the day, and you're not often in the High Court or the Court of Appeal. So the one day I was there, I thought it was a good illustration of the day job.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a great theme that runs through all of your LinkedIn posts, which is a medal, and it's here again. But this is some more photographs from your LinkedIn. But there's the medal, and you're at a coffee bean recycling. Yeah. Tell us about
that. Was really interesting. Yeah. There's so much stuff at End of Waste that you deal with your day-to-day work and your day-to-day clients. And my clients have quite a variety of waste that skip hire, haulage, construction, demolition, anaerobic digestion plants, chemicals recycling. But this was something I'd never come across. And they approached me I was presenting at Recoup's plastics conference in Peterborough in September, and Biobean heard. Basically, I was presenting my presidential report, and they heard it and asked and said they were having issues with end of waste as well, and they asked if I'd come and have a look at their plant, partly as CRWM president, but also in case there's any legal issues that they can help with. And this pile that you can see behind me is basically a big pile of coffee grounds. You walk into this warehouse, it smells like Starbucks. It must be such a nice place if you like coffee, a great place to work. So they showed me where the grounds come in from, who their producers are. So they take coffee from Starbucks, McDonald's franchises, I think Tesco's, all of the names that you'd heard of. And the coffee grounds, when they leave these companies, come to Biobean, and they're then processed through a variety of means into, I've put a few photos on there. The bottom right-hand corner is coffee logs, and these are sold on Amazon and Tesco's. They're for wood burners.
Wow.
Yeah, really interesting. And then
nice smell.
When
warming your room. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the top left-hand one, that's a sort of, they look like plastic, but they're actually made of spent coffee grounds. You can see a coffee cup and some coasters. But the most interesting thing that I would never have thought about was they're used for remanufacturing for brake discs. So I couldn't see a link between coffee and brake discs at all. But there's something in the coffee grounds that is a really useful product for them. So it was a fascinating day out, really interesting, and a great view of it.
Well, how about this one? This one?
My holiday photos. That's there wasn't so much a waste thing, but I'd always want to see
Yeah,
it. My
but
sister lives in
the
Boston.
Presidential Medal is still there. It's had some. It's
Still,
had
yes,
quite
it
a
was.
had quite a year. I think it's way more travel
Yeah.
than I've been
Well,
in
it's
my
been
life.
making up for lost time because during COVID, my sister lives in Boston. I
Yeah.
wasn't allowed into America. Not me personally, but everyone wasn't allowed into America for 2 years. So this is my first trip back to see her. And I thought the medal might like. I thought it was interesting to see what waste goes on in America. It's the similarities and the differences to what we have. So, yeah.
You're a baseball fan now?
Oh, not really. It's really boring. It went on for about 6 hours, and we still couldn't work out what happened. So
what's going on?
I ended up leaving. So it was leaving out.
What about this?
Yes, now I have to say this is one of my not very environmentally friendly hobbies. I do admit that, but on the one hand, I think you have to enjoy the life that you have, and we can do.
Yeah,
it's nice to do some things like this, but also try and help the environment in other ways. So I do feel slightly guilty about this because obviously it's car racing, but it's one thing that I've always enjoyed. My dad was a big fan, and again, I've not been to a race for many years, and I said I quite wanted to go to one this year after the last 2 years. And I said to Lindsay, I really like to go to one in Austin. She fancied coming, and she went, and I said, if I pay for your ticket, will you come with me? She's really not interested. But yeah, so I persuaded her to come down. And whilst I was there, I was hunting out the bins and seeing what was on there. But I have to say, very impressed with how
you've got the medal there surrounding 2 reusable cups. That's
Yeah, that was very good actually. They were very, compared to when you go to sort of entertainment venues in England. That's one thing I did find very good there. You weren't allowed very limited single-use plastic. Water fountains everywhere, and if you didn't bring a cup, you just didn't get a drink because they didn't sell bottled water. So yeah, I know that doesn't make up for all the petrol that's used, but it's impressive what they're trying to do.
It's about balancing it and spending it, isn't it? Budgeting it and spending it. Yeah. Okay, so we've got one there which is more sort of traditional, I would have thought, CIWM sort of. But yeah, exactly. It's a sort of work mode. But I was just looking through, and this is one that we both went to.
Yes,
and I must admit, it's one of those. This has been one of those events when you watch a good film and it stays with you for a few days. You know that film that you watch other films and you kind of disappear. But going to the Renew hub in Manchester was quite striking for me, and I think it was. I don't know what your thoughts were, but it was really impressive. And we talk a lot about circular economy, and I've spent many hours at circular economy events. But actually, to see something happening in practice, it was really very, very encouraging. I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, exactly the same. I didn't know what to expect, but it's huge, isn't it? And really lovely seeing the 2 chaps remanufacturing the bikes. There's a whole load of I think you can just see the bottom picture maybe. Bikes that come in that I think otherwise probably would have ended up as scrap. And people are turning them into new bikes for less able people and families that need them. So yeah, the whole thing was just fantastic. I was really impressed.
It was so impressive, wasn't it? And I've never seen so many sort of, I walked around to the drum section. I think it was all of the drums that people had sort of put in for reuse across Manchester, and it was this mound of drums and drumming equipment, But it was great to see it, and also, the click and collect area, so people could actually see stuff online that had been refurbished, either a bike or it had been woodwork that had been furniture that had been improved, or white goods or upholstery. It was just really impressive, and I recommend anyone who's not been there to actually, if you're feeling a bit unsure about what you're doing in the waste and recycling, waste and resource industry, then get yourself a visit to the Renew hub just to get inspired.
And also, you can just the very bottom picture you can see behind me. There were 3 whole rooms, weren't there, where they've set them out as sort of living rooms, and the whole lot is made from repurposed furniture, which is fantastic. Really good.
You're there posing on a reef.
Somebody told me to go and drape myself over a chair. I think the chair's made of recycled material, and the rug was as well. So.
Very good, Anna. Thank you for that. Please sort of chip in, and we'll be opening up for discussion between us later. But thanks very much for that for the moment. That's brilliant. Thank you. Right. Who else is joining? Today, we're really pleased that actually Emily from Rainbow Junction is joining us. Emily, hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, really good. Thanks very much for joining us today on the webinar. You're someone who's actually kind of doing it at the business end. You run the Rainbow Junction Food Cafe and Food Share. Want to find out a bit more about that. A little bit, but perhaps I've got some slides here which I'm going to share. But as we do, I wonder if you tell us a bit about yourself, your background. You've got some background in the restaurant trade, is that right? In food?
Yeah, I have had lots of different lives, and including running pubs in Paris, working in film distribution internationally, and volunteering for a year in the refugee camp in Calais a few years ago. And so I got involved with Rainbow Junction. I actually sent an email to an organisation called the Real Junk Food Project with a small paragraph saying, these are the things I've done in my life. I'd love to volunteer. And the church where Rainbow Junction is based got in touch and said, actually, can you just have a job? Because we have no manager of our waste food cafe, and it sounds like you've got all the right bits. And it's been a bit of a match made in heaven. It'll be 6 years in February that I've been running Rainbow Junction. So yeah, it's all working really good.
How long has it been going, the project?
There's been a community cafe of some kind in this church for more than 25 years, and it's had various iterations. Rainbow Junction, as it is now, really started with when I came. It was sort of had almost dwindled away to nothing when I took over. So I think we say, it started in February 2017.
Started then. Great. Okay. Right. Just a little bit about it. I wonder if you just sort of talk us through the aims and what you do.
Yeah, so we have 3 aims, which is fighting food waste, fighting food poverty, and building community. And the way that we achieve all of those aims is using a lot of surplus food. We work with various food waste organisations and local businesses to take their food waste. And then the volunteers come in on a Monday and a Thursday and cook up lunch. And everything that we do is on a pay-as-you-feel basis. So that's making it accessible to anyone that needs it, and that's helping fight food poverty. And then the community angle are the things that we're trying to do alongside that. We have a lot of services running alongside the cafe, debt advice, social prescribing, mental health drop-ins, and then also fun things, craft tables, live music, board games, things like that. We're trying to make it not feel like a place where you have to be desperate to come, to make it a community centre that is open to everyone. Sorry. And then on the Friday, we have a food share, which we formerly known as a food bank, but we're trying to move away from that language, trying to bring a bit more dignity into that. So we, unlike many other food banks, we don't ask for referral. We don't ask anyone any questions about why they need food, because I know why a human being needs food, because we all do. And the only questions we really ask people are what sort of, how many people in your household, what kind of dietary requirements do you have, and what cooking equipment do you have? And then it's more like a shop than a food bank. We don't hand out standard parcels. People do queue for a long time, but when they get to the front desk, they can then choose what they want, which I think gives a lot of dignity, actually, and also saves food, because handing out standard parcels, I'm sure, leads to a lot of waste if you send things that people don't eat or are allergic to or can't cook or whatever. So everything in there: fresh food, tinned, frozen, tinned, lots of bread, lots of baked goods.
Really interesting. We're based in Leeds. Our office is in Leeds, so we need to come down and
honestly, you need to come for lunch. The food, especially for lunch, is really delicious. People often say with a surprised look, "Oh wow, my lunch is so nice." It is good. Amazing volunteer chefs, like really top notch. So yeah, come.
Brilliant. I've got a question for you, which is, the moment you get home and you kind of open the fridge door and you look and you've got certain bits and pieces and you think, what on earth am I going to make from that? But you do this on a kind of your upper level. You're looking at the very same problem. You've got a whole set of ingredients. I mean, how do you actually plan this stuff? How do you actually decide what you're going to make?
So the menu, we have a different menu every day, and it is very ready, steady cook. So the volunteer teams come in at 9:30. We get everything out. We have a look, and depending on who's here and what they're used to or what they're into, and we come up with a menu together. It's very collaborative. There are things. So there's we do a lot of soup and stew and curry, because those are things you can make with whatever you've got. Quite a lot of pasta dishes, but the menu is different every day, so people have to come and look at the board and see what we've got. But we have 3 courses, starter, main, dessert, always vegan and gluten-free options. So I mean, it's really, I'm so lucky to have so many great volunteers, really.
Sounds great. Just looking at your comments on rising numbers of people actually using the cafe, which is a kind of, I suppose, a mix of a sign of success, that actually more people hearing about it, but it's obviously it's also a reflection of the increased need that people are needing to use the cafe. But also falling donations. That's interesting. That donors themselves are actually being affected by the cost of living issues.
The cost of living, or I prefer to call it the cost of greed crisis, because I believe it to be a manufactured crisis, because there are many people making lots of money out of this crisis, but I won't go on about that. But yeah, so we are seeing massively rising numbers. Our food share, about 3-4 months ago, we got down to about 60 or 70 people coming on a Friday, and now we're hitting records every week of 115, 118 coming, and nearly all of those, and not everyone, but a lot of those people have one or more people in their household. So that if we're serving 115 people, that's actually represents maybe 300, 400, 500 people.
Right. Yes.
And those numbers are just going up and up, which is obviously heartbreaking and awful. And donations are down, because everyone's being affected now, not just the very poorest.
Emily, I was thinking about this the other day, that I lead Integrated Skills. We do waste composition analysis. So we actually go into authorities, we take a sample, and we actually work out what the waste is. And we found surprising levels of actually within, well, firstly, people want to know more about food waste, but within food waste, there's a subcategory of what's avoidable food waste and what's unavoidable food waste. In the unavoidable food waste, the things that you'd expect, so peelings and things that you're not going to make anything out of necessarily. But in the avoidable food waste side, we're finding actually significant amounts of unopened food, which seems kind of, you're here talking about sort of the reduction in numbers of people donating food, and I'm saying that in the waste analysis we're doing, we're actually seeing that people are actually putting out quite a lot of unused food into the bin that could be used. So one of the challenges for this industry, I suppose, is to think about, okay, how do we actually connect those two things, and actually how do the public direct that food to projects like yours, which could then be feeding people.
I mean, it's it is bonkers. Like there's just huge amounts of food, perfectly edible food, being thrown away, especially like baked goods. A lot of supermarkets massively overorder so that they can have it always available, 24 hours available bread on the shelves for people, and then they just end up throwing it all in the bin. And it's I mean, there's lots of solutions, but being more connected up and working, if we could work together to get it to where it's needed, and there are great organizations doing a lot of work in that. Rethink Food in Leeds and FareShare nationally and Neighbourly, they're all doing a lot, but there's still loads being missed. And given the levels of people living in poverty, 24% of children in this country live in poverty, that seems like something we need to really work on a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. You've actually put there a link, so if you've got a Friends of group set up to actually try and cover donations towards the. Do you want to say something about that?
If you want to help us specifically, we are doing a monthly donation drive at the moment, and we're calling it Friends of Rainbow Junction, because all financial donations are massively gratefully received, but regular monthly financial donations allow us to plan for the future, allow us to budget and know how much I can buy and what I can do in the coming months. So if you have some rich friends that you would like to give that link to, I would be most grateful.
Well, please pass them on, folks, to your rich friends. We'll be circulating this. these slides on the video. I've got a Christmas fairy question, which is, if I could grant you a wish to do with your, the local, what could on the webinar today, we'll have a number of waste management officers from local authorities. If you had one wish, what would that be? What would you like to ask your local authority representatives on this webinar?
One of the one of the small but very annoying battles that we face is a lot of the produce that we get is delivered in mass amounts of cardboard, and we send a volunteer weekly to the tip, and every week he has to have an argument about whether we're a business, whether we're allowed to give away put this much on the tip, and it's just become an ongoing battle. So just a bit more support from the local authority, organisations such as myself who are helping fight waste, who are helping the community, not having to spend time and energy fighting about putting things in the tip, would be my Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, and actually I think resonates with lots of people thinking about circular economy. How do we actually make sure that everyone is pointing in the same direction here? Because obviously each of the authorities has got their, your local authority will have its ambition towards reuse and reducing waste. So it's kind of just making sure that all of those things are connected up in the right direction, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know I'm a big fan of what's been happening in Wales over the past year, but the one thing that impresses me so much is the actual work they've been doing on circular economy policy, so that there really is a policy that everyone kind of is working to in a direction. So when I speak, John, when we talk later, I'll like to pick up on that and your thoughts on that in Scotland. But thanks very much, Emily. That's really good. Actually, I've got a couple more slides I just wanted to show.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are. Just
you looking delicious. An example.
Yeah. That looks great stuff, I must say. Does it?
Honestly, the food is excellent. Yeah, this is the food chair. This is setting up inside the food chair. That's where people will be queuing. Obviously, as volunteers, I didn't want to show any, of the people.
Yeah, of course. That's great. And we've got a couple of slides actually of the food share itself.
Yeah. So this is the kind of things that we're giving out. I mean, that's most of that veg will have been bought, the tins and stuff. I think on the next slide, a lot of that's donated by various people, and also we buy stuff as well. So yeah, we're doing what we can.
Great. Emily, thank you. It's been so good to hear from you, and please stay around and join the conversation as we go through. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for listening.
Right. I think it's time for a bit of music. In the past couple of years, we've had a Leeds-based pianist and composer called Simeon Walker. I'm actually going to he's done something a little bit special for us this year. I know he's been actually based in Leeds, and he's actually joined our webinar from Leeds, but this year he's actually doing something a little bit special. Let's just see what he has to say. So,
hi everyone, I'm Simeon Walker, and it's a pleasure to be playing a few pieces for you today. I've played for this event for the last few years, and thank you to Stuart for inviting me. I'm not at home this year, mainly because of COVID being a little less bad as it was before. So here I am in a beautiful theatre here in a Portuguese town called Porto Alegre, which is in the central part of Portugal, called Alentejo, near the Spanish border. I'm doing a performance this week on Friday with a dancer, a choreographer here, and so we're rehearsing and setting up all week. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you a different location today for this year's performance. So I'm going to play my arrangement of A Come, Come Emmanuel. This is turning into a tradition now, Stuart. So thank you very much for having me. And then I'm going to play a piece of mine called Gleam. So enjoy and have a really good rest of your conference today and webinar. And look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Merry Christmas. I think I've definitely chosen the right week to be in Portugal, although it is raining here, but it's not -4 or something. So hope you're all surviving the cold back at home, and thank you very much for watching and for listening. Merry Christmas.
This helps to unmute. I forgot all about muting there after that. That was so nice, wasn't it? That was so nice. Wow. Maybe you were feeling wintry, but hopefully you're feeling a bit Christmassy now after that. What a talent, isn't he? Thank you very much, Simeon. Yeah, really enjoyed that. John, welcome to the Christmas webinar. We've had Welsh people speaking on this, but I don't think we've ever had a Scot on this webinar. So thank you very much for joining us, and you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I hope I'm not the last Scot that you have on. depending on what I say, of course.
I am sure not. I'm sure not.
That was lovely music, really relaxing. I felt myself drifting away there. That was lovely.
Same. Yeah. Okay. Perhaps tell us a bit about yourself and your role in Fife.
Certainly. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Rodigan, as Stuart says. I'm the head of service for environment and building services in Fife Council. And within sort of my remit and my basket of services is
Oh, think we might have lost John.
Building services,
No.
an in-house construction company that turns over about 120 in the council. Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
We're losing you actually,
Can you hear me,
John.
everybody?
We're losing you a little bit.
Yeah, well,
Perhaps if you turned your camera off,
can you
or
hear
we
me?
could try without. Perhaps turn your camera off, John, and we could try without your camera.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No.
Oh, yeah. Try again, John.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
No.
can.
Right.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know how much you caught there, but I was just saying, I've got building services, the council's in. You heard that bit?
Yes, we did.
Right, okay. Street cleansing, domestic waste, and fleet services as well. So I'm here to talk about the sort of domestic waste side of things. We're fairly limited in the domestic waste service and what we can offer residents struggling with the cost of living crisis. But we are already providing a free takeout and return service for residents with mobility issues. And we don't charge for garden waste at the moment either. And many other councils up here are doing that. So that's a help before we start, if you like. That was going on before the crisis. However, we are committed to introducing a free bulky uplift service from April next year to help residents with their finances. We are already one of the cheapest in Scotland with a £15 charge for 3 items. So this news will be welcomed by quite a few. I like to think that we were reasonably competitively priced anyway. I'm not sure what the prices are in England, but up here we were one of the cheapest, certainly in Scotland. Mm-hmm. We anticipate around about a 3-fold increase in demand with this new service, and we'll be creating a new team of 6 vans and 12 staff to support the booking system of roughly 132 slots every working day. We're hoping to recycle as much of the collected material as possible, and one of the benefits of doing what we're about to is that at the moment our RCVs take a lot of these bulky uplifts on their landfill routes, so that will stop. So I reckon about 50% of the material going into these RCVs could possibly be recycled. Now it will be. So that's a major plus, despite the fact obviously we're going to be helping people that are maybe a bit financially challenged just now. The cost of providing this service will be well over £1 million in Fife, which is going to be a real pressure going forward with the budget cuts that we're anticipating next year. Fife's looking at about a £60 million reduction in its budget over the next 2 or 3 years, so that's significant. As well as supporting residents, we are also acutely aware of the need to support staff, and in particular low-paid workers during this crisis, and domestic waste collection staff are amongst the lowest paid in the council. Tragically, we've seen 4 suicides, 4 domestic waste collectors committing suicide in the last 12 months up here. And we've only got 150 staff, so that ratio is horrific. The reasons are varied and complex, but the cost of living crisis and mental health impacts have almost certainly been a contributory factor. So the management response has been very focused and targeted on spotting and supporting those struggling with mental health issues, and to that end we've introduced a dedicated mental health first aider to engage with staff just within the domestic waste service, sharing information and being available to support anyone needing help. This is a completely confidential service, and already we can see how valuable it is, and I think you just never know, it could prevent another tragedy. We've also delivered employee wellbeing roadshows across all our depots in Fife, and these were informal drop-in sessions where attending staff could meet representatives from the Andy Manns Club, Human Resources, the Samaritans, and other leisure clubs across the region. And we're seeing that sort of well-being as a major factor, in mental health as well going forward. We've also partnered with the Department of Work and Pensions on an Able Futures pilot project to support employees and apprentices' mental health as well, recognising that young people suffer too here. This was an employee and not a management-led initiative, which provided 9 months of personalised advice and guidance and regular appointments with a mental health professional. Those involved had mental health plans developed, which included lifestyle adjustments, coping strategies, and learning ways to look after your well-being. Lastly, we've had our mental health support contact information printed onto our corporate workwear, which is a really simple idea, but very effective in giving the issue an omnipresence. It's always there for the staff to see and think about. And and it is about probably recognising changing behaviours and how colleagues are struggling, and picking that up early so we can get the help and support to the person that needs it. So that's what the domestic waste service has been doing in Fife. There's a lot more, as I said to Stuart before the webinar, there's a lot more going on in Fife, information and finance, food, some of the stuff talked about earlier, we're doing up here as well. But I'm just focusing on domestic waste just now.
That sounds really, really interesting stuff. I mean, the one thing you mentioned there that I've kind of come across before is the Andy's Man Club, but I'd not actually connected the two, connected Andy's Man Clubs with the fact that the waste industry is probably predominantly, although we've got a really good representation of women on this webinar, it's actually predominantly a male industry. But actually, linking the two up, that's I really like that thought. No, thank you. My question was, would you mind actually sharing some of that, your notes from the presentation you've given? I think there's a lot in there actually that probably on first hearing people didn't catch all of it maybe, but actually it's really compact and full of some really good stuff in there. If we could share that when we circulate the video and the notes from today, that would be great if you're happy with that.
Of course.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, John. I'm going to, in a moment, ask Sarah Jane to talk about waste aid. But I say in a moment because I'm realizing that it's quite a long time since we've had any sort of quiz type input. And we did say there was going to be a quiz, and I went to great lengths to explain how the quiz was going to work. But I've not actually done anything on that yet. So I wondered, Emily, can I start with yourself and ask you for your quiz question? Just before you give me the quiz question, let me just say the rules are: the first person to get the answer right in the message box actually wins a donation of £25 to Rainbow Junction. So make it pretty simple. The simpler you can make it, this Emily, the better. But go on. But challenging, simple but challenging, if that's a thing. Emily, you're muted. You're still muted.
Okay, hi.
There you go.
My question is, what is the most wasted food item by supermarkets? And I did talk about it a little bit when I was talking. So the word was there.
Well, you know what? We've got bananas.
Bananas is second,
bananas.
I would say.
Is that right? Mm. Well, I think, I mean, my gut feeling is the answer is already down there. But yeah, I mean, we've got bread. Is it bread?
It's bread. It's definitely bread.
Bread and cakes. Wow.
There's just mountains and mountains and mountains of bread going in the bin. So yes.
Quickly, why is that? Just the very short sell-by period.
Short sell-by, and I think it's something that supermarkets feel like they have to have on the shelves, so they do massively overbuy it, I think. Wow. And it's cheap, and they don't mind throwing it away, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'd say bananas is probably second, actually. There is a lot of bananas.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Brilliant. Well, that's a correct question. Donation towards Rainbow Junction. Let's go, Anna. Your question, please.
Am I unmuted? Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay, this might not sound straightforward, but if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know the answer. If everyone quickly wants to get on LinkedIn. Where is the largest energy from waste plant in the world? What country is it in?
Oh, we've got an answer.
We have.
Is it Germany?
Should I wait for all of the answers? Or
yeah. Although again, someone's going to list all of the countries in the world, I think.
In the hope that one of them will be right. I really want you to get a donation.
Okay.
It's somewhere.
Any of those? Are we there yet?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought this would be a really easy one. It's somewhere that I've been to recently. Yes, Carly, well done.
Brilliant.
It was
Nice
on my
one,
recent
Carly.
LinkedIn post, the
The
biggest
answer
energy
is,
transplant in the world, next
is it
to
really?
the biggest airport in the world, which is Dubai, which I didn't know.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Brilliant. Great answer. That was a difficult one, Anna, we've got to say.
Sorry, yeah, I thought everyone
No,
followed me on
that's
LinkedIn. Apparently not.
that's good, that's good.
So, you know.
I think that's a very cheap way of actually trying to recruit
Yeah.
people to follow you on LinkedIn, but it's effective. Great, John. Oh, let's John, let's just get your camera back on if we can for your question. John, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bit of a memory test. Let's see if any of you were listening. How many daily booking slots will Fife Council be offering with the free bulky uplift service?
Oh. Wow, there's some good guesses coming in here. I think some people were listening. 150 something. Any of those, John? Is it any of those?
Yes, it is. Kevin Batson is correct.
Well done, Kevin. 132. Superb. Very good. Right, come on. Let's finish. Should we finish the quizzes while we're on a roll, and then we'll go. We'll talk, Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane, what's your quiz question?
Oh, this is so. This is actually going to be mentioned at the start of the video, but I'll pop it in now. How many people globally are forced to dump or burn their waste because they don't have a formal waste management system?
Good question. Okay. Well, the clue is in the video. Let's just load
It
that
certainly
just a
is.
second.
Or if you log into the, if you quickly dash on the Waste Aid website, it'll be there.
Sorry, folks, just a second. I'm trying to. Sorry, Sarah Jane, just bear with me.
That's okay.
This is right. I think I'm going to need some technical help from my colleagues here. I'm trying to load your video.
I'll give the participants a quick clue while we're waiting.
Yes, please. Okay.
If you go to the home page and scroll down a little bit, you'll find the answer there. So nobody has quite got it right yet.
Just a second.
Excellent. So I think, well done. We've got Carly has got it correct. Perhaps actually I'm just going to post into the chat while we're just waiting to get the video set up. I know one of the questions that Stuart is going to ask me after the video is actually how you can get involved in Waste Aid. The two links that I put into the chat at the moment are about how you can get involved and support the organisation and our work. So how perhaps you could get your organisation more involved, but there's also a support us tab which allows you to do things like donate money, but also inquire about things like payroll giving as well. I'll also put a quick link into the chat about a recent project that we've been doing, which CIWM have incredibly kindly been funding for additional reading while we're getting sorted as well. Let me pop that in there. So this is one of our projects in the Gambia, which is about setting up a circular economy network. Fantastic. I think we've lost Stuart completely, haven't we? Well, I'm more than happy to keep talking about Waste Aid, to be honest. We've been CIWM have supported us hugely since the start of the organisation, actually. Fantastic, Stuart. Thank you. I think we've got the video on there. So the video does have no sound. I'll just talk over it a little bit to tell you a bit more about our projects and the work that we've done. So Waste Aid was, our organisation was set up by waste managers actually that had been to, travelled internationally, worked in different countries and seen the impact of poor waste management. We were registered in 2015, so we've been going for a few years now, and we're now classed as a large charity, which shows just the interest in the organisation and actually the need for it as well. We're getting more and more corporate supporters. The video on the image on screen just there of the plastic bottles, I think is one of the most impactful, really. So that particular image was taken in Cameroon, and it's actually a riverbed in Douala. Many of the places that we work in are equatorial, and without formal waste management systems, actually some of the rubbish gets thrown into riverbeds. When the rains come, as you can imagine, water flows down the dry riverbeds and washes all of that waste out to the sea, which can cause pollution on land, but then obviously also in the ocean as well. And I know ocean plastics are particularly a very hot topic for people at the moment. So we work as an organisation in a number of different countries. In Africa, we've got current projects in the Gambia, Cameroon, South Africa and Egypt. We've also been working in India and Vietnam as part of our circular economy network. The images on screen at the moment are some from the Gambia, where we've been setting up the CIWM project, and also that was a quick image from COP, last year's COP, where we went to talk about some of the challenges of waste management. It's a really important issue because it's, we often talk about the environment, but actually poor waste management really impacts the lives of the poorest in our society and impacts their health as well. So it's just a really important issue and one that I'm very, very passionate about, hence my involvement with Waste Aid.
Sarah Jane, thank you. Sorry, I was actually watching and listening during there. I wasn't appearing, and my apologies for the technical glitch.
Okay.
But that was really, really interesting. It's an organisation I've kind of been aware of for a number of years, and really appreciate the work they're doing. For those people who are on the webinar, I mean, how might they get involved?
So I've put into the chat box actually a couple of links that will tell you how you can get involved. So there are ways for your organisation to get involved, but also for you personally to get involved. For those people on the webinar that are members of CIWM as well, so our project in the Gambia, as it's evolving, we're hoping to set up a mentoring network as well. So waste managers within the UK can provide skills and support to those in the Gambia as well. The second link that I've put in tells you about the start of our project in the Gambia. And again, I just want to thank CIWM for that funding and also their early support with Waste Aid as well. One of our most effective tools that we have was actually a toolkit that was developed and commissioned by a former president of CIWM, Professor David Wilson, that's helped us to get these sort of skills out and accessible to many different communities.
Great, thank you. And we'll be sending that information around with the webinar notes and the video. So thanks, Sarah Jane.
Fantastic,
really helpful,
thanks.
really interesting. I've just got one final question for everyone, for all the guests, really. Final roundup question on your own Christmas plans. Emily, let's start with you.
Yeah, so Rainbow Junction hosts a Christmas Day lunch. We will probably have about 200 people for lunch on Christmas Day. again, volunteers cooking it up, and it should be loads of fun. It always is. So yeah, if you're
Brilliant.
in Leeds, you can come.
Brilliant. Right. Thank you. Sarah Jane.
No plans except to try and see as many people as possible. I still feel that I'm craving that sort of human contact. So yes, friends and family.
Yeah, nice. Anna, what's your plans for Christmas?
Yes, well, having not been allowed, normally I would go to see my sister in Boston with my mum, and having not been allowed in for the last 2 years, this year, Biden's letting everyone in, so I'm going to take my mum to Boston with the medal. David, I know you're asking where it was. He is behind me, but I didn't want to get in the way of my Christmas jumper that I sat wearing. I might get in the way because David's there. So yeah, medal's off to Boston to see Lindsay.
That sounds great. Would you mind just lifting the medal towards the camera so we can have a closer look there? Just oh, look at that. Look at that.
This is all I'm allowed out with the chains I'm not trusted with in case I leave them in a pub. So if I leave this in a pub, it's fine.
Brilliant. Thank you. John, what's your plans for Christmas?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Good. Well, given that the frontline services I'm responsible for have a lot of staff, we at Christmas support a local charity called the Family Cottage Centre, and they look after 400 vulnerable families at Christmas with food and presents for the kids, but they need people, vans and drivers to distribute the stuff. So it's a big operation, and we get involved with that at Christmas. Hugely satisfying for those involved. Personally, I'm taking the time off in between Christmas and New Year for the first time, and I'm really looking forward to a decent break. So that's what I'm up to.
That sounds great. And myself, I'm we've got all our family visiting. It does feel strange to have a year when everyone can visit, and so we've got our 3 children, and any day I should be hearing that I'm going to become a granddad. So we'll be there with our grandchild for the first time. So yeah, sounds fun. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for contributing and being involved in this webinar. Yeah, really nice to see you, and really appreciate you being with us. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's kind of finished your wintry season and entered your Christmassy season now. So have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all, and a happy and peaceful New Year. So thank you again. And
thank you, Stuart.
Thanks very much, Stuart.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.